We can get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deandra Coleman, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia SBDC is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 27 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one consulting services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Fundamental Cybersecurity, Protecting Your Business and Information, is presented by the Virginia SBDC and is part of our cybersecurity series that discusses how to protect your small business's digital information. Check out our next webinar, Cyber Awareness Training for Your Business, which is on July 21st. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted, but if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can enable or disable via your meeting controls at the bottom. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session. Tom has over 25 years of cybersecurity experience and began his career in the U.S. Army Signal Corps before transitioning to military intelligence as a counterintelligence agent with assignments in Germany, the U.S., and Middle East. Tom served his country honorably in both Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. Tom is certified as an information systems security professional and information security manager, and is certified in risk and information systems control. Since arriving in Winchester in 2018, Tom started his cybersecurity firm specializing in helping small and medium businesses protect their critical and sensitive digital information, and was recently awarded the top of Virginia's Regional Chamber of Commerce's 2021 Entrepreneur of the Year. Tom joined the Virginia Small Business Development Center in October 2020 to work as a cybersecurity counselor, providing cybersecurity insight and strategies to business owners. Please join me today in welcoming our presenter, Tom Stamulis.
All right, thank you, Deandra, and thank you everybody for joining today for our fundamentals of cybersecurity webinar. And so for today, what we're really going to do is I don't want to overload you with too much information because of the fact that we are looking at fundamentals, and I want to leave you with a few key things that you can do immediately to help protect your organization, your company, your environment. So as Deandra said, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. We'll make sure that we leave time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions. And if you think of them while we're doing the presentation, like I said, just go ahead and ask those questions, put them in the question box, and then we'll answer those at the end of the presentation. So what we'll do is we'll get started now. Like Deandra said, I've been doing cybersecurity in one manner or another for a very long time. And I started in the federal government with the United States Army. And then when I left active duty, I started working for very large organizations. And I had the opportunity to work for some of the larger professional services firms like PwC or PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG. And I spent a long time working at Verizon, where I co-managed a cybersecurity program where we delivered what we would say were essential cybersecurity controls. We would help them build that so that they would have a good security posture. And that's something that I've been doing, for large organizations. And when I started my own company, I realized that there's a real risk for our small and medium businesses because of the fact that you don't have access to the resources, necessarily the personnel, or even you may not even have the budget to spend all of this money that these larger enterprises are spending. So I felt it was important that my organization or my company help people use the people, the processes, and the technology that they have in place. There's a lot of things that we'll cover today that you can do at no cost. And I think that's what's really important is let's leverage what we have, and then we can, if we have to spend money, then we're spending it wisely. Today's agenda, we're going to cover, just cybersecurity, what it is, why it's important, who really wants your data, what type of data do they want, and some of the top techniques that they're using to steal our data. And then I want to cover what I call myth and reality. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and then that kind of overshadows the truth. And then we'll close out with steps you can take immediately to help protect your organization. This presentation, once we're done, everyone will get the PDF version of it. So if you want to take notes, great. If not, the information will be provided to you once we're done. So I say cybersecurity is here to stay. And one of the biggest things is that organizations, especially smaller and medium organizations, just don't feel that they're a target. And as a result of that, they're not giving cybersecurity any real attention. But if you talk to any industry expert, any researcher, any organization, any large organization that has an understanding of it, I like this, this quote from the chairman of IBM, where she said that cybercrime is the greatest threat to every company in the world, not every financial company, not every large company, every company. And if you do business and you use the internet and you have digital information to help you successfully run your business, you are at as much risk as any large organization. And even though we might not think that we have much value for a hacker, we'll cover some of that, and you'll probably see that you have a lot more, or I guess you have a lot more value than maybe what you originally thought. So you got to understand who really wants your data. Traditionally, we all know the term hacker, and a hacker really is a very broad term for an external individual who is not have authorized access into your network. And that individual has lots of different techniques to try to gain access into your network or access to your information. Another one that we have is we call it the insider threat or the rogue employee. And that's an employee that you vetted, you've hired, you work with on a daily basis. You may even be friends with some of these, but there's something that this employee is upset about. Maybe they didn't get the promotion that they wanted. Maybe they didn't get the bonus that they felt that they deserved. Now that the pandemic is subsiding, you might have a rogue employer that is upset because they're being forced to go back to the office and they don't want to. And so they have access because we've already granted them access. And what they do is they abuse that trust for whatever that may be. It might be revenge. It could be a financial gain because they want to share that information with somebody who's going to exploit it, or they might just want to do harm to the organization. But we need to remember that if that individual does harm to the organization, there's a good possibility they're going to do harm to us. Because if our company can't open or can't run, then we can't go to work. And if we can't go to work, we're not going to get paid. And if our company goes out of business, then we have to look for another job. So a rogue employee, an insider threat is a very serious thing to pay attention to. Phishing is more of a technique that these external hackers are using to gain access. It's basically social engineering just on a digital scale. And they're using this phishing to get you to click on a URL or a website that is not correct, or they're asking you to open an attachment that's been infected with malware. And the reason they want to do that is because they want to install some type of ransomware or ransomware onto our systems. And that ransomware will actually encrypt our data and make it unreachable for us unless we pay a predetermined ransom to the individuals that are holding this encryption key. And if we, and if you think about it, it's a challenge because you could pay the ransom and they may not give you the key back. You could pay the ransom and they can give you the key where you can decrypt your information, but they already stole all of your information and it's still going to end up on the internet. So, when we look at who wants our data, we also want to look at how are they trying to get to this data and how are they trying to gain access to our network. And once we understand that, when we get to the section where we talk about things that we can do, simple things that we can do to protect ourselves, then at least we understand why. It's not just some cybersecurity guy telling you you need complex passwords, all right? Because complex passwords, we all know, they're a pain. But I feel that if we understand why we need these complex passwords or some other potential mitigating control that we can put in place, then it may be a bother, but it's less of a bother than trying to deal with like a cyber incident or a cyber breach. So what do they want? Well, there's some very key things that they would love to get their hands on, and we talk about PHI, which is protected health information. We all have it. We all go to the doctors or to the dentist. And when we get there, they hand us a form that tells us how our data is protected. The federal government created, they wanted to streamline healthcare, and they wanted it to be able to where you could go to a doctor and then that doctor could share that information seamlessly with a specialist or another doctor, which was really going to create better healthcare for us and be more timely. But in response to that, we digitized all of our data. Well, that data sits on computers, and computers have vulnerabilities, and only certain individuals should have access to that health information because it's private to each individual, especially with our children, because they're under the age of 18. We have a responsibility to protect their healthcare information. But healthcare information provides a lot of information to a hacker. It has it'll have your name, it'll have your address. A lot of times it has your social security number, your insurance company. It may have banking information. And of course it will have healthcare information. And that healthcare information should be protected and should only be releasable by you who own the healthcare information. So, but hackers really want this because it's something that provides a lot of value. Payment card information. We all use credit cards and debit cards, and that information, of course, we know about identity theft. We know about skimmers, where you go to maybe an ATM in a smaller store, or you go to an out of the way gas station. And what these people do is they put these devices over the actual device. And what it does is when you slide your card in there, it collects your data. And then they come back at some later time and they take that device off of the fuel pump or the ATM. And then they have your payment card information. So they'll have your PIN, they'll have your payment card, your number, your name, and then they will take those lists and sell those lists on what we call the dark web, which is basically, just look at it like Amazon for criminals. You can basically, or eBay, let's say eBay for criminals. It's basically anything that you want from a criminal perspective. They sell it there, they auction it. There's a bunch of different ways that they do it, but that's where they sell that information. And then that information, these individuals will try to leverage. They'll try to use your credit card to purchase things or services or products and have those products delivered. So it's important so if you are collecting payment card information, they want that. Now, a lot of small and medium businesses do go through a payment processor. That's one of the smarter things that we can do, because we really are just more of, we swipe the card information goes to the payment processor, they pay us, they collect from the bank, and they're responsible for protecting the data. But there's also a lot of businesses who have been asked by their clients to keep this PCI information on file. And we do. But how do we protect that? Is it in an Excel spreadsheet? Is it in a notebook? Is it just in a regular Word document that's maybe in a file? We don't know. If we don't know, each business is different, but the business should know there. And then, of course, personal identifiable information. That's everything that has to do with you, that can identify you as a person or a company, where you live, all those specific details. And anywhere we do business, they're collecting some type of PII. And then if you're in a unique or in business where manufacturing or a services industry, there's your intellectual property. And if you've ever worked with a marketing company, or if you've ever worked with a business coach or a lawyer, and you've had them write your NDAs or they've written your contracts for you, you've spent a lot of money to get this documentation correct. Well, these marketing strategies that you may have spent thousands of dollars on to help build your business, you want to protect that. And that's also information that they want because it's free, or it's something that they will be able to use or be able to leverage or sell. And then, of course, we have just our other proprietary information that we use to conduct our businesses. It could be business partners that we have. If you are in an affiliate with another company, or if you have an alliance, or you work with other companies, and then of course all of your client data. And we have an obligation to protect that data in the same manner that the client is protecting that data. And the last thing that we want is a business is to have our clients find out that we were not doing our due diligence. And as a result, their personal information or their children's information or their banking information or whatever that they consider private has been stolen and is now potentially or is out on the internet. It could potentially be used to maybe steal their identity, establish loans, open credit cards, buy a home. There are stories all over, the internet about how people have used this data to, open different types of accounts. And then the poor individual that had the data stolen is the one that's stuck with trying to recover from this. And if you've ever spoken to anybody that's gone through identity theft, it can take a year or two to try and get through that. It can cost you, you may get your money back, but you're not going to get your time back. And it can take hundreds of hours. Even if you have a very good service, it can take a lot of time to, personal time to get that information and clear your name and get your credit. So, our clients are expecting that if they share stuff with us, that we are doing what we can to protect that. The top techniques, I've spoken about this in the past. There's Verizon does a data breach investigation report, and they do it every year. And what they do is they collaborate with hundreds of organizations. They collect thousands of pieces of data, and they aggregate that data to come up with trends. And that's been one of the real challenges with cybersecurity, is trying to understand what the trends are in order to fight them. You've got businesses and organizations that are coming out with all types of applications and all types of recommendations, and organizations can spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on cybersecurity tools. But are these tools addressing the symptom, or are they actually addressing the cause? And without trending data, you can't really answer that question. So they, when they do this, it's really to help, industry experts, professionals, but it also is also to help business owners understand what the threats are so that when you are interacting with a salesperson or a professional, you have some general understanding of what those threats are. So external hacking is pretty much always at the highest because they're using credentials or they're finding a loophole or a vulnerability in your application. Errors fall under human errors. You hear stories of someone who sent a private Excel spreadsheet that belonged to a client and they hit send and they send it to everybody. Or hospitals in covered entities, which fall under HIPAA, have sent the wrong healthcare information to the wrong patient. We're human. We all make mistakes. So that and as long as a human is involved in things and they're not necessarily properly trained, then those errors are going to occur. Also, a lot of it is a lot of times organizations are, you've got 2 people, but you're doing the work of 4 and you're rushing. And, we all know that if we rush, we always make mistakes. At least I know I do. And that if I'm rushing to try to get something done, I may miss something. And I think it's important that we understand that those errors are there. Now, that also counts for configurations. If an IT person commissions a new device on your network, whether it be a server or a phone or a computer, if it's not configured correctly, well, then that's also considered an error that could be exploited. Social engineering, we talked about that. That's verbal, on the phone, telephonic, it's in person, and it's also phishing. Misuse goes to insider threats, where someone is misusing the privileges that they've already been given to exceed their authority. And then malware is, what's installed basically through social. You can't, malware just doesn't show up on your computer. It has to be delivered in a certain manner, whether that be physical through somebody finds a USB drive in the parking lot and they pick it up and it says photos or it says whatever on there and they plug it into their machine. And because there may not be a policy that has informed that person that you're not supposed to plug, non-company devices into company devices. And then there might be malware delivered in that manner. And then of course, physical, I tell everybody all the time that if an individual can gain access to your device, it does not matter what logical controls you have in place. I'm going to get access to you. I'm going to get access. And that's very simplistic too. It's not like you need to be an elite hacker. If you have access to the physical device, you can very easily get access to the data on that device. So let's cover some myths. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misunderstanding that that mainstream media might convey based off of a story. And, remember that when you're getting this information, you kind of have to ask yourself, where am I getting this information from? And what are they benefiting? Now, we know mainstream media, it's all about views, it's all about clicks, it's all about interaction. So they're going to want you to read their article. So they're going to give you information that may not be as accurate as it would be if it was coming from like a professional or professional journal or a professional site. So a lot of people believe that because they've never been attacked, they have good security. That is a myth, right? The attacks are becoming more complex every day. When we talked about phishing was just basically blasting out an email and hoping someone would click on it. Now spear phishing is they actually target people in a company and send emails to that person making that person believe that it's from someone else in their company. And they're trying to get them to perform an action because they've done their research. And, you'll hear people in my industry say, it's not a matter of if you've been breached, it's a matter of when you figure out that you've already been breached. And that's a kind of a scary thing to think about, is that, there's not a lot of confidence that organizations haven't already been breached. There's a high level of confidence that you just haven't found out that you're breached yet. Now, that's very prominent on larger organizations, but at some point, that's going to trickle down to medium and small businesses, because, if they can make money, they're going to make money. So whether it's $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 from them hacking, they don't care. They're going to take the path of least resistance. And if small and medium businesses is that path, that's what they're going to go after. And that's why we goes into cyber criminals don't target small and medium businesses. 58% of cyber attacks victims were small and medium businesses. The only reason you don't hear about it is because, no one cares about the smaller business. It doesn't get the clicks, it doesn't get the views as it would that, with Equifax or Marriott or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a professional networking site, and they got hacked and 700 million records, all right, which was like 93% of their members, which is, to me, 100%. They just haven't told you that, or they haven't figured it out. So they're going to get that information. And so it's something that you don't think that you're not a victim, or you're not a potential victim just because you don't think they target you. Compliance. Now, there's a bunch of industries that are required to be compliant. And what that means is they're in the financial industry, healthcare. Healthcare has HIPAA. You'll see banks, they have FDIC and they have FFIEC, and credit unions have NCUA. And these are the regulatory bodies that have created these controls that they're saying, okay, in order to be a financial institution, and fall under FFIEC, you have to have all of these controls in place. All right, so and that's a start, but compliance does not reduce risk, and that's something that you want to remember. When you're compliant, you are at the bare minimum of what is necessary for that organization. You're not at the top, you're not even at the average, because because the thought process was, if they make it too difficult, no one's going to do it, and then no one's going to pass, which will create a huge problem for certain industries. You have medical doctors' offices that, if they are shut down because they can't protect the data because the controls are too strict, they can't take care of patients, and healthcare suffers. So that's why compliance is a balance. It's a balance between the minimum that an industry is willing to accept, and functioning or allowing that business to function. It does not mean, and it's also very binary. And what I mean by that is there could be a question that says, do you have a firewall? And the individual answers, yes, I have a firewall. And then they move on to the next question. They didn't ask, is the firewall installed? Is the firewall on? Are the firewall rules in place? When was the last time the firewall was reviewed or evaluated or updated? So the person answered the question the way that the regulator asked the question. So if you think about it, that's what we call a test of design, where do you have a firewall? Yes, you do. But then if you want to look at risk, you look at a test of effectiveness, whereas, okay, are all those other parameters in place? So is that control effective, or is it just designed to be effective? And that's where when you do that, you start reducing that overall risk. Antivirus, people have thought for years antivirus and any malware is enough to keep us safe, and it's not. It is a layer of security. I recommend everybody have antivirus. I use a Mac. I have antivirus on my Mac, all right, because I interact with a lot of PCs. I get a lot of different type of files, so I have antivirus on there. I think that every business, every personal person should have. It's an investment of a few dollars in the grand scheme of things, but the time it saves and the protection it provides, it far outweighs the cost. Again, there are free versions of antivirus and there are paid versions of antivirus. The business owner has to make a determination of what's within their budget, and does that version provide them with the protection that they're looking for. Now, for some of the larger organizations, people believe that cybersecurity is IT department's responsibility. That is not their job. IT is a steward of the equipment. The business owners are responsible for cybersecurity because it's your data. The IT department doesn't own the data. The IT department doesn't even own the equipment. The IT department owns the responsibility of keeping that equipment up and keeping the systems functioning, patched, and all of the updated software. But the actual data is the responsibility of either the business owner or the division leads. They're the ones that own that data. The sales team, that's their data. The IT department is just there to ensure that the sales team can access that data. And so that's a big thing where it's every employee in the organization is responsible for protecting that data. Now, that's whether that means don't, be security, have some security understanding, don't click on phishing. If you see something that's that you believe might be a phishing email, you forward it to the IT department. You don't just ignore it. If you see, physical doors unsecured, find out why. All right. If you see someone, if you use a badge system and you see someone trying to come in behind you without a badge and you don't know that person, stop and ask them who they are. All right. There's a lot of time that's piggybacking where, they'll just follow behind you. They'll ask you to hold the door, and we're human and we want to be kind to other people and we want to be helpful. But we also have to understand that you were issued a badge for a reason, and that badge was given to you to make sure that only authorized individuals get into your office. Doesn't mean you have to be rude. You just have to say, can I help you? And if you do, 9 out of 10 people are not going to have the skill set to get by you or to social engineer you. They're all, you just say, oh, I'm sorry, no badge. You need to go to the front desk. They'll issue you a badge. You're polite, and they move on. And you've done what you can do to help them. The other thing is that, you'll know if you get breached. Other than ransomware, you won't know you got breached. It can take months and sometimes even years, depending on the skill of the hacker and the complexity of the malware that they're using. Remember, these people don't want to be discovered. And they don't necessarily want to steal something immediately because they may not even know what they want to steal, because they may not have any idea what's available to be stolen. There might be some, things that they believe are in place, financial information or client, but they're not really sure. So what they want to do is they'll install malware that will allow them to enter, leave at will without being detected, potentially collect traffic and export that traffic to another server outside the organization. So unless you have a very rigorous program in place, or you are leveraging, outside agencies or organizations to perform, vulnerability assessments or penetration testing or application scanning or things like that, you're not going to know immediately. Now, like I said, with ransomware, it's all about the ransom. So the sooner you get, that you are, that your data is encrypted, the sooner they get paid. But all the other stuff may not necessarily, you might not know for months. And a lot of times you may not be the one that discovers it. It may be a partner. It may be a client, could be a vendor. It might even be the federal government or a state government that comes and says, hey, you have a problem. And this is why you have a problem, because we found this information out on the internet. so, and that just ruins anybody's day. So you really don't want to be getting information from a client or a customer that, you could potentially be breached. Complete cybersecurity can be achieved. Never going to happen. All right. Look at cybersecurity like health. You need to eat healthy and you need to exercise on a regular basis to remain healthy. If at any point you stop eating healthy or you stop exercising, your health is going to start to go down. Same thing goes with cybersecurity. You can't there's no end. And unfortunately, that's a very difficult thing for people to understand, is that it doesn't ever end. It's just an ongoing process. It gets easier because as our people become more aware, we're not necessarily covering all of the same things over and over again. But you've got to treat it the same way that we treat our health. And it's something it's a lifelong approach. The longer we want to live or the healthier we want to live, we have to make those decisions. Same thing goes with our cybersecurity, posture. The longer we want to be less attractive to a hacker because we have too many controls in place, or that we want to protect our data, it's a continuous process. And then we talked about, outside threats that, those are a majority, but insider threats are just as likely to occur, and they're harder to detect because of the fact that they are violating our trust. We interview these individuals. We may be friends with these individuals. We may not pick up on the sign that individual is completely upset, or we might just say, oh, he's just upset, or she's just upset. She'll get over it. Maybe she won't. And we don't want to get involved because, we don't want to do something wrong. We don't want to accuse somebody of something that they may not be doing. And that's it's a balance, but that really comes from your leadership and your owners. Everybody makes a mistake. Maybe that person is but if you see something going on, we all have an obligation to at least address it. Now, there are a bunch of ways that you can address it. You can address it through your HR. You can anonymously do it. It's not something that you have to go and point the finger at somebody and call them out in the middle of the office. That's not the right approach. It's just that, think about the fact that if something doesn't seem right because this person is acting way outside of how they normally act, it might be worth addressing. But then again, it might be something completely different, but maybe they just need some assistance. It might have nothing to do with cybersecurity. But if we don't bring it up, then and that individual does perform some type of hacking or steals data or disrupts our ability to do our business, it's going to impact us as well as everyone else. So, I've covered a bunch of stuff and you're like, all right, great. You've told me all of these horrible things and, what do you do? And, and this is where I want to cover some of the key things that you can do that will actually mitigate a lot of these threats that we were talking about. So this is what I'm saying. These are 5 things that you should take today should do today if you're not doing them. All right. And the first thing is get some type of professional help or assistance from an organization, from an industry, whether you pay for it or whether you don't, they understand what's going on. And, the SBDC, we do these webinars. I'm available to do one-on-one consultation with businesses. It's at no cost to the business. It allows us to, get an understanding of your environment and, take some takeaways, some things you can do, and also help you understand what's the risks that are directly associated with your business or your industry. And I tell people, don't DIY, okay? And this is not home and garden television. And I laugh because I think the greatest thing Lowe's ever did was sponsor home and garden television, because home and garden television makes us believe in a 30-minute show that we can update our bathrooms in a weekend. And what do? And we've all done it in some manner, right? If you're a homeowner, you've done it in some manner where you said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And you go and you buy the tools and and you buy the equipment and you tear apart your bathroom, and 4 months later, your spouse is ready to divorce you because you have not made any progress on it. All right. And it's because you've overwhelmed yourself, and because that person made it look so easy, you're like, I can do this. There are some things, and some of the things that I'm going to share with you are do it yourself. But the overall strategy is, you really should get some professional assistance to help you make sure that you're spending the time that you have effectively. All right. So inventorying your assets. All right. If you can't protect what you don't know. And I always tell people, think about Home Alone. All right. All right. When the McAllisters went on vacation, they left him home because they thought they had the right number of people, but they didn't. All right. So the same thing goes with our devices. We may think that we have a certain number of devices, or only a certain number of devices are connected, or that device was decommissioned. And if you don't have a good understanding of the assets that you have and the data that's sitting on those assets, how are you expected to protect it? And for some of our organizations, it's very simple. You might have 3 laptops. Okay, you know what you have. Well, as you grow and you move into other offices, or whether you lease your equipment or you buy your equipment, or you take those primary devices, when you upgrade, you turn them into loaners, and they sit in an office. You've got to know where that stuff is, because if you don't know where your data is sitting, you don't know what assets those are sitting on, then you're not going to be able to protect it, or you're only going to be able to protect part of your network, and the rest of your network will still be vulnerable either from an external or an internal attack. A firewall, all right, I tell everybody, if you're running a business, run it like a business, which means you need to get yourself a firewall if you are connecting to the network or to the internet itself. If this is a hobby, then go and buy some consumer rated device. But your firewall is your front door. You have a front door to your home, is your front door to your network. And the whole purpose of that firewall is to ensure that only the people that you want to have access into your network have access into your network. Same way your front door works, right? You have a front door because you want to be able to make that determination of who enters your home. Without a front door, anybody can enter your home. Same thing goes with a firewall. A router is not a firewall. A router that says it has firewall capabilities is not a firewall. A firewall is a firewall, all right? And a lot of people think, ooh, a firewall, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars. They're not. There are several good companies. They provide great value for a few $100s, but it's a commercially rated firewall, and it gives you all of the flexibility that you need to make sure that your data is being protected, but your employees are still going to be able to access that data. It's even more important now that a lot of us went remote, and a lot of us are going to remain remote, or we're going to be in a remote hybrid status where maybe it's 3 days in the office, 2 days at home. That gateway is the one main thing that you're going to want to have in place so that these people can access that. And also it provides, a lot of these commercial firewalls will provide you with virtual private networks where those individuals can create those secure tunnels, and you're ensuring that your data between your employee who might be in West Virginia and your office in Winchester or wherever it is, that data is being transmitted securely. Encrypting all your devices. So this is one of the free ones. Whether you have a Mac or a PC, encryption comes native, built into your system, doesn't cost you a dime, and it's like a 3 or 4 step process to turn on its file vault for Macs. It's literally a 3-step process. It's like click, 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 and it's done. All right. The reason you want to encrypt your data is that a lot of us travel around with laptops. Those laptops are not only they're targeted because they have value. If you leave your laptop in the back of your vehicle, or someone smashes a window and steals your, if you are a medical doctor's office or a medical transcription organization and you have 10,000 medical records on that laptop, you have a HIPAA violation that's going to cost you thousands of dollars, if not more, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, maybe to the point where you actually have to go out of business because it was in clear text, which means that as soon as they get into the computer, which I told you, if I have access to it, I can get inside and get to the data. But if it's encrypted, which is an algorithm that's used to jumble all of that data. It takes all of that data and turns it into unreadable text. Then you don't have a data breach. You've lost a device, you have to replace the device, but because it was encrypted, and as long as it was encrypted with a reputable algorithm, which both PC and Mac do use, you're not going to have a data breach, because if you did, then you also have to notify 10,000 people that you lost their data. And then you've got to look at, credit monitoring or civil fines and criminal fines and all of that stuff. It's one of the easiest things that you can do. I highly recommend you do it. You just do it immediately. It does not impact your ability to do your business. It doesn't take longer for your devices to boot up. It doesn't impact. It's something that is one of those necessary things, but it's an opt-in. Unfortunately, I wish everything was opt-out, which meant that it was already encrypted and you had to turn it off. We're not there yet, but eventually we will be. Backup. And one of the other things I tell people is if you are not backing up your data, don't waste your time doing anything else. Because cybersecurity is not 100% foolproof. Our data sits on devices. Those devices fail, always. They will always fail. And they will always fail at the absolute worst possible time. So if you have to back this data up, and there's a lot of ways. What I tell people to do is I tell them to use a 3-2-1 methodology. And what that is if it's important, you need to back it up 3 times in 3 different ways, where I don't care how you do it, but it needs to be backed up at least 3 times. That way, if the first 2 are corrupt, the third one will most likely not be. But one of those 3, all right, their backups always get corrupted. They just always do. Or a file on the backup, which is the one you absolutely need, is also going to be corrupted. So if you have a second or a third, you've put in enough protection to that one of those is going to be it's going to be able to fully recover your data. 2 means that you have to do it on 2 different mediums. So you might have an external hard drive, all right, and then you back your data up on that. You might be able to back up your data. And remember, you don't have to back up the operating systems necessarily, but just the data. You might be able to back up all of your data on 3 or 4 DVD drives or DVDs, all right? Because, they're 650 megabytes. When you think about our actual data or our database, it may not be that big. So you have at least 2 different mediums. Just in case one becomes obsolete or if you need to get access to it. And then the last one is one of those 3 needs to be offsite. And that's completely offsite. An external hard drive next to your main PC in your office is not offsite. Okay, that's an external hard drive. If your building burns down, the computer and the backup burns down with it. When I say offsite, that means, if you store it to an offsite storage, whatever, if it's Amazon or Azure or Box.net, or you literally take the hard drive with you home at the end of the day. All right. So that way, if your building burns down, God forbid, you have your backup. If your house burns down, you have the original. All right. And you would still be able to conduct your business. But if all of your data and your backups are in one location, then it doesn't matter how many times you back up. It's all going to be destroyed if there was some type of event that did that. So those are the things that you should do today or immediately. These are some things that you want to start putting in place, as you say, tomorrow. updates and upgrades. That's one of the key things that is a huge problem with cybersecurity, is that we are responsible for updating our systems. You don't have to like it. It's just the way it is. Okay. Microsoft is always putting out updates. Macs are putting out updates. Phones are putting out updates. Doesn't really matter. And they're coming on a regular basis. So either you have to have the schedule to where you're going to go and check for updates on a regular basis, or what I recommend is you make all of your systems automatically update. They get the information from Microsoft and they automatically update either after hours or the next time you boot up or whatever. It'll take care of that because it's always connected to the internet. I'll just caution some of our industries like insurance and medical industries. Sometimes you're using a vendor that is using a proprietary software that may not update the software as quickly as the manufacturers are updating the operating systems. And what happens is if you do that, sometimes it'll break the applications. So if you have a unique situation like that, just be aware that before you go and update automatically, find out if that's going to impact your proprietary application. Training your employees, security awareness, and I don't even like the word security awareness. All right, let's just use security training. Is important, and it needs to be consistent. It needs to be relevant, and it's not always fun, but it needs to be somewhat enjoyable what they're going to learn. Showing someone a 20-minute video about security awareness or phishing, that's not security training. That's not good security, period. That's like eating one salad and then telling the world that you're a healthy eater. You're really not. You eat one salad, all right? Congratulations. Well, you can't expect your employees to understand their responsibilities by showing them a 20-minute video once a year. You need to incorporate it, whether it be if you have quarterly meetings or if you have quarterly training or semi-annually training. You want to incorporate some type of cybersecurity training in there. It could be also, the SBA offers posters. If you have a newsletter, you can add it into the newsletter. You can put in a tip. It's reminding people of what the threats are and the things that they can do. That's how you build a security trained employee workforce that's not going to click on a phishing email. That's not going to allow some random stranger to enter into your office, into the secure area of your office. That's an employee that's not going to pick up a USB drive and plug it into your laptop at any time. It's not going to be that person that's going to leave it in the back of their vehicle with their windows down. All right. That takes time. It takes repetitive training to ensure that individual understands what they need to do. Physical access, that's a no-brainer, right? If they have access to the data. Another big thing is employee access to data. We need to make sure that we're only giving our employees enough access for them to do their jobs. We're not giving everybody privileged access to everything. We're not giving everybody administrator rights. They don't need it. And if they do have it, that's where you run into problems with potential insider threats, errors, because somebody had access to data they didn't need, but they had access, and then they made a mistake and they sent that data to somebody who shouldn't have gotten it. And then the last one is passwords and multi-factor authentication. Passwords are not great, okay? They started when the internet started, and they've gotten hard to manage. We have passwords for everything, and it's really not enough. And as I've talked about in the past, there are a number of people who still use the word password as a password because their company allows them to use that. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's their password. That provides zero protection. You might as well not even have a password. But multi-factor authentication is something that is becoming more prevalent. Google does it, QuickBooks does it. They're doing it for free. You don't have to buy anything. It's these one-time passwords that they'll send you a text. Your credit card does it. Schwab account does it. Your banks do it. If you have multi-factor authentication available, I recommend using it. But because passwords are the number one thing that we deal with, I want people to understand that a complex password does work. All right. Now, if you think about this, all right, if you're using a 6-character password and you're using upper and lowercase alphanumeric, and symbols, it's still only going to take them 13 minutes to crack this if they get the password database. So what I try to tell people is to use a 10-character password. All right. And at a minimum, all right, use upper, lower, alphanumeric, all right, which you can see that if you're using a 10-character password and you're using upper, lower, and alphanumeric, it's 160 years. I'm not going to be around 160 years, so let them have at it, okay? But anything less than that puts you at risk. And like I talked about the LinkedIn breach, they might not touch that database for a year or two, all right? So 169 days, they probably are going to break the algorithm and get those passwords. But even if they started tomorrow, 2 years from now, they're still going to have 104 years left. So I talk about complex passwords, but I also talk about looking at and investigating and investing in a password manager. It's probably one of the best investments you're going to make for you and your organization because it takes all of the heavy lifting out of the way. It will generate random passwords for you. It keeps it in a secure vault. And the only thing you have to remember is one password to enter into that vault. It syncs up with all of your devices. I make no money off of selling password managers, but it's a peace of mind that is far worth the $25 or $30 that you're going to spend for that. So I tell everybody when I do this is that, you know what, you don't have to worry about the bear as long as you can outrun your friend. And that's something to keep about is, as long as you're making yourself less attractive to a hacker or a criminal organization, they are going to go after someone else because they know that there is someone else who is not doing the minimum, the basics or the fundamentals. So they're not even going to waste their time with you because they're like, I don't need to spend any effort on this individual because they've got this fundamentals in place. We'll just go to the next person because that we're guaranteeing that the next person or the person after that is not doing what they need to do, and we'll just steal their data. So that's why when I say you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your friend on this one. So with that, I'd love to open it up for questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom. We do have a couple here. What, in your opinion, is the best antivirus software?
Right, that's an unfair, loaded question. So there are very okay. So there's Norton, there's McAfee, there's Kaspersky, there's oh shoot, it starts with an A. But they're all good. What you have to run into is some of them are CPU hogs, which means that they're very intensive and they use up a lot of processing power. They've gotten a lot better. Now I use Norton on my machines. And the reason I use Norton is because I got the opportunity to buy a family pack where I got 5 licenses. I get a password manager. I get the antivirus. I get a virtual private network built into that. And it's all part of my package. And I also get LifeLock as part of my package. So for me, it was worth it because I got several things that I wanted for, what I consider a very minimal annual fee. I want to say it's like $99 a year, and that's 5 licenses. So I can put it on 5 different computers. And also I get secure storage. So I get like a gig of secure storage space. Dropbox is not secure. There are people who want to argue with me that they've gotten secure. I don't care. Don't use Dropbox for your business. If you want to use box.net, that's different. Box.net was created for businesses and eventually sold to customers or consumers. Dropbox was built for consumers and eventually, shoehorned for for businesses. So it's just personal for me. If you're using it, I would recommend that you definitely look at your security parameters for that. But for antivirus, there are, like I said, I'm not a big free. I think the cost, you spend $1,500 on a laptop. You should be able to spend $25 or $30 on antivirus for the amount of time that's going to save you. But that's a preference. That's a business decision for an owner.
Yeah, I'll squeeze one more in here since we're right up at the end, but I thought this was interesting. Can you talk a little bit about Alexa, like Amazon Alexa, and working from your home office, and kind of, is it always listening, and how that affects your business?
Multinational technology company which focuses on e-commerce.
All right, you probably just heard Alexa.
Yeah.
Here's your answer. All right.
Information technology is
She's trying to explain something to me about what you just asked.
Oh, wow.
It's, how do I put this? It's designed to make our lives simpler, more efficient, provide us the ability to control our lights. And there are a lot of great features that come with Google Home or Alexa and things like that. But there are also risks that you need to be aware of. And that's really what I'm going to tell people is you've got to do your own risk assessment. A year or so ago, there were the wireless baby monitors, all right, with video. And because the company made it an opt-in, and a lot of parents don't necessarily read all of the directions, they were not aware that there was a security setting that was, if not in place, it allowed an unauthorized individual to actually hack into their video camera, see their child, and because there's audio, they were actually having a conversation with this child. Now, if that doesn't scare you, I don't think anything will scare you. But the fact of the matter is that some stranger is having a conversation with my 2-year-old daughter through the remote device that I bought so that I could protect my child. That's something that we need to be aware of. So when you think about Alexa, there are a bunch of things that, she collects lots of data. There are ways to go in there and delete a lot of the conversations, what she's heard, but you have to determine whether you feel that the value that it provides, whether it be to automatically turn on your lights or set your alarms or start your crock pot, it really doesn't matter. As long as you understand what the potential risks are and you feel that the benefits outweigh those risks, then that's an educated decision. If you're just putting it on and you have no idea what the risks are, then you know what, you're putting yourself at risk, and you really can't get upset if something bad happens because you just didn't do your due diligence on what that service provides.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, and I actually have my video off right now because my daughter is sitting in my lap, but that is terrifying. We actually have just an audio only monitor because of that reason, but there's so many risks that you guys seem to be aware of. So but I think we're right up at the end. We had a couple questions, but Tom is always around to meet with. You can definitely meet with him and have a session with him. You can email us, help@virginiasbdc.org. You guys will all receive an email with a link to the recording and evaluation and to the slides. And if you'd like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded ones, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. Tom has cyber awareness training for your business coming up on July 21st, so make sure you guys sign up for that one. Also on our website, you can access the COVID Business Recovery Center, which we developed to help owners not only continue business operations, but to thrive and recover. These resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors, and you can sign up by emailing again, it's help@virginiasbdc.org. Thank you so much, Tom. We always appreciate your webinars and how in-depth and all of the expertise that you have to share with us. Thanks for spending time with us today.
No problem. And Deanna, I have those questions in front of me. What I'll do is I'll answer the ones that I can, and I'll send that to you. So when you send out the PDF version,
Mhm.
you can send out the answers to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have record of that. So I will get those questions to Tom, and then we will send them out to you guys. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you again, Deanna. We'll talk soon.
All right. Talk to you guys soon. We'll see you guys at the next one. Have a good one.